Welcome to episode 35 of the Practical EdTech Podcast. I'm Richard Byrne. Today is February 27th, 2020. Usually I record these on Friday, but it's a snowy, sleety, windy, gross day outside here in Maine, and school was canceled, so I decided I'd record the podcast now while I have a little bit of time. So let's get right into it with some news and notes from the last week in the world of education and technology. First up, the Google Keep Chrome extension is back! Yay! Last Friday, it stopped working and started showing a corrupted message, and it wasn't just me, it was everyone. The Google support forum for the Chrome extension was littered with messages of, it doesn't work, it's broken, it's corrupted, yada, yada, yada. And finally, on Tuesday, Google fixed it. Late Tuesday, Google fixed it. So after 4 days, almost 5 days of it not working, it works again. Yay. Good thing. By the way, if you want to know more about Google Keep or you want to explore some interesting ways to use it, besides just bookmarking, I do have a video on my YouTube channel all about Google Keep and 10 ways to use Google Keep. So check that out. One of my favorite features, by the way, of Google Keep is the reminders feature that's available in the mobile app, the Android app in my case, or iOS app if you're an iOS user. That lets you set location-based reminders, which is kind of handy. Anyway, some other news and notes. Speaking of mobile apps, Tik-Tok launched new parental controls. This is a big thing for anyone who has a teenager at home who is obsessed with TikTok. You definitely want to check this out. makeuseof.com has an excellent article that provides an overview of how TikTok's safety mode works, how you can use it. So check that out. Go to makeuseof.com. You can check that out, or go to the TikTok website, and I'm sure you'll find the information there as well. All right. EduBlogs announced their next student blogging challenge. You can find it at studentchallenge.edublogs.org. And their next challenge will begin on March 15th. It's open to anybody. You don't have to be an EduBlogs user. You don't have to have previously even had a blog. You can start your classroom blog for this challenge. This challenge is going to run for 8 weeks. It'll have 8 weekly prompts. And it's a great way to get your kids in the habit of doing weekly writing, or get yourself in the habit of doing some weekly writing, or just, maybe rejuvenating that classroom blog that you might have forgotten about. So check it out, studentchallenge.edublogs.org. Blogging is not dead. It's still very relevant, very important to get kids writing for an authentic audience, and the Student Blogging Challenge is a good way to build up that audience as well. So, if you turned on your local ABC News this morning or yesterday morning, you may have seen that the Smithsonian now has a new open access program. You can find it at si.edu/open access. Offers nearly 3 million images that are now in the public domain of all kinds of stuff. The reason I mentioned ABC News is because my local ABC News affiliate ran a ABC story about it. That's also Larry Ferlazzo wrote a blog post about it as well. But yeah, so check that out. 3 million images in the public domain now, thanks to the Smithsonian. Sticking with the topic of things that are in the public domain or Creative Commons anyway, Mixkit.co is a great place, great news site, new to me site, for finding video clips and audio clips that you can download and reuse and remix to use in your own projects. They're all stock video clips, things that they're short video clips. They're not, actors and actresses. They're stock video clips, B-roll clips, if you will. And then the stock music that they offer is mostly instrumental music that's great for using as background music or bumper music in a podcast or bumper music in a video. So, great little thing. Check that. Check that out, mixkit.co. I'm pretty excited about it. It's always hard to find high quality video clips. It's always easy to find images, but video clips and audio clips are sometimes a little harder to find. Speaking of images, if you are taking a bunch of pictures at, let's say, your school talent show or pictures at some other school event, and you want to share them, but only share them for a limited time, Oshi.at is a file sharing service you can use to post your pictures or other files and have them self-destruct after a certain amount of time. So you can have it set for after an hour, a day, 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, or 90 days, they will self-destruct. So if you only want to share it for a limited time, that's a good option to consider. So check it out, Oshi.at. Sylvia Rosenthal Talisano writes a great blog called Langwitches. I have followed it for a decade or more now. I got to meet Sylvia, and actually we shared a 6-hour round trip van ride together about 10 years ago on the way to a conference and back. So we've got to chat. But anyway, she wrote a great blog post this week, published it actually this morning, all about misinformation and how misinformation gets spread and tactics of used to spread and generate disinformation or misinformation. Check that out. Go to langwitches.org, 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 and check out her blog post, Tactics Used to Generate Disinformation. She's got a lot of examples in there and descriptions of the tactics. Could be an excellent resource to keep bookmarked and share with your students. On a related note, Common Craft highlighted a baloney detection kit on their blog this week. So take a look at that on Common Craft's blog, commoncraft.com, and check out their blog. As always, full disclosure, Lee and Sashi are friends of mine, but it's a great little resource to keep in mind. And last but not least, in my news and notes from the week, Google Earth, a tool that I love dearly, finally works in Firefox, Opera, and Edge. If you want to know why it took so long, Google has a blog post up about it. I have that linked up in the show notes. But yeah, so if you're an Edge user or an Opera user or a Firefox user and you've begrudgingly used Chrome to use Google Earth, you no longer have to do that. Okay, let's move on to some thoughts from my classroom and elsewhere. I'm going to call this one Thoughts from My Classroom and Elsewhere. So first up, this is my first week back from vacation. Last week, my school was on vacation, and the week before that, we had a snow day and a delayed start, and the week before that, we had 2 snow days, and today we have a snow day, and yesterday we had an early release day. All that to say, February has been a momentum killer. One of my classes only met 3 times the entire month. 3 times the entire month. I'm not going to see them tomorrow. They're not scheduled for tomorrow. They were scheduled for today. Obviously, I'm not going to see them. So, 3 times for the whole month. So, hopefully, March is a better month for momentum. Now, it's been great for those of us who like to ski and those of us who like to do things outside in the winter, but it's not been so great for school momentum. Speaking of the weather, we had a heat wave over the weekend. We got up into the high 30s and low 40s over the weekend. I got to ride my bike outside on Saturday. That was awesome. And then Sunday afternoon, I skied in basically a t-shirt and my jacket, which was great. And then sat outside and had a beer on the deck with my friend. So that was great. Anyway, now we're back to snow, sleet, freezing rain, and a hot mess of stuff. Or I should say, a cold mess of stuff. In a this has never ever happened to me before, or never happened to me when I taught social studies kind of moment, yesterday I was told to spend more money and add more items to my budget for next year. My tech director came to me and said, "Are you sure about your budget numbers?" And I said, "Well, I'm kind of just working on what the previous person used." And he said, feel free to add more to it. We want to make sure that the kids have all the stuff they need. Don't shortchange yourself. Add more stuff to the budget. Make sure you spend this year's budget. I haven't really spent much of this year's budget, as it turns out. Spent very little of it. So yeah, I was told to spend more money. That never, ever, ever happened when I taught social studies. It was the other way around. Getting money for anything was like pulling teeth. I was like, hey, we got money. Spend it. Please spend it. Please add more items to the budget. So that's kind of cool. So I did, and I am. And I ordered a whole bunch of new stuff, a whole bunch of new components for some Raspberry Pi projects that we're going to be working on in March and April, hopefully in March, depending on how the school, depending on how we do. But definitely by April, we'll be working on some Raspberry Pi projects, so I'm excited about that. And so I've built that into the budget, which is all of my way of segueing into this next part to say that for those of you in the greater Boston area, greater Providence, Rhode Island area, greater Hartford, Connecticut area, the tri-state area, I should know that. I kind of grew up there. I did grew up in Connecticut. Next Tuesday, I will be speaking at the Inspired Learning Convention at Mendon Upton Regional School District in Mendon, Massachusetts. And I'll be talking about podcasting, AR and VR, and I'll also be doing a session on electronics in maker spaces. So we'll be doing some things with Arduino. We'll be doing some other simple electronics, and we're going to take a look at some of the simple projects you can do with directions from Microsoft's Hacking STEM collection. So it should be fun. It's going to be hands-on. I'm looking forward to it, and it looks like it's almost full. The session is almost full. So if you're interested, check out the Inspired Learning Convention, Mendon Upton Regional School District. Should be a great time. Thanks to Dave Quinn for the invitation to come down and speak there, and thank you to Beth Holland for her frequent recommendations for me to speak there as well. So appreciate that. My last thought from the classroom or elsewhere. The highlight of my professional development week, I guess so far, was a chance to catch up with LT Reese-Miles. Dr. Latanya Reese-Miles and I got to catch up last night. We had a great conversation. Her work is all about helping first-generation, first-year college students. She's a director of first-year experience at UCLA. And I got to see her speak about a month ago in Amarillo, Texas at Amarillo College. And I was just kind of just completely enthralled by the topic. It's a topic that is really relevant to me as a high school teacher who works in a school district that will have a lot of first-generation college students, or will have a lot of, and in some cases has first-generation high school students. So it was a really great conversation to talk about ways that we can help students, particularly first generation college students, but all students really, make that transition and have a successful first year and second, third, and fourth year in college in the learning experience. So her topic is really called the hidden curriculum. Check it out. I really, really enjoyed our conversation. It was a fun conversation. She's a very engaging person. So check out that conversation. It's episode 34 of the podcast, a previous episode of this podcast. So check that out if you would. And follow LT on Twitter. It's Dr. LT Reese Miles. Her Twitter handle is DRLT Miles. So check that out. All right, now a little bit of Q&A. First question came from Anne. And Anne wrote to me and said, I saw your review of EduCandy. And EduCandy is a cool little tool, by the way, for making all kinds of games. So Anne wrote, I saw your review of EduCandy. I often create games for students to play in my library. Do you know of any programs that would let you create memory matching games using picture matches instead of words? It would be great for my younger students. Thanks, Anne. Those of you who have listened to every episode of this podcast will probably beat me to the punch and say Flippity.net has a template for making that kind of game, as does ClassTools.net. Both of those resources have templates for making matching games that can be based on pictures instead of words. Check that out. All right. Second question came from Anetta, who wrote, am I missing something in Canva? I have an education account, but there is no feature to remove the background. So I wrote back to Anetta, and she is not the only person to email me with this question over the last couple of months since Canva added this feature. So to do this, you can pick any template. You have to make sure your image is highlighted in your template or in your design that you're using. So, for example, if you're watching the video of this or you're listening to this podcast and you want to see me do this, go to my YouTube channel and watch the video of this. Click on the image, highlight the image in your design, then click on the effects, and then you'll see the background remover, and just let it do its work. So that's all there is to it. The big thing is you just got to make sure you've highlighted the image in order to bring up that effects menu. Okay? And so if you're watching the video of this, you'll see that it just happened right now. Now, another option, if you're looking for another way to remove the background from an image, and someone else emailed me about this who didn't want to I shouldn't say didn't email me, tweeted me. Someone else tweeted me about this issue earlier this week and didn't want to use an online service for this. You can do this in PowerPoint. You can do that in PowerPoint, and shameless commerce division of my life, in YouTube, in my YouTube channel, I have a video on how to do that in PowerPoint. So you can do that in PowerPoint if you don't want to upload your image to an external site or a third-party site. All right, question from Eli. Richard. A teacher wants to have her students create podcasts, and she has a couple of questions that I hope you can help us with. The teacher wants to have her students write a play with multiple scenes totaling about 40 minutes. Her questions are, can Anchor record a podcast that long? If not, do you have another suggestion? And 2, can a student podcast be uploaded to Headliner, or does it have to be published somewhere so that it can be searched like yours and your video? If so, how do they do that? As always, thank you for your help and advice. So I wrote back and answered these questions, a couple of things to consider. Number one, yes, you could record a podcast that long directly in Anchor. However, I wouldn't recommend doing it. And here's why. If you're recording directly in Anchor, there isn't an option to stop, restart, rewind, and record over something. So if you're in a classroom situation, where you might need to pause because there's, an interruption from your intercom, or there's an interruption from someone coming in the classroom, or whatever it is, Anchor is not going to be great for that. So instead, what I'd recommend doing is recording the podcast using something like Audacity, or if you're a Mac school, using GarageBand. Record in one of those two tools, and then just upload that file to Anchor to do the hosting and publishing of your podcast. And that's what I do. So I record, create my MP3 file externally, then just upload it to Anchor to do all the hosting and publishing of the podcast, hosting, publishing, distributing of the podcast. To answer the second question, can a student podcast just be uploaded to Headliner, or does it have to be published somewhere else so it can be searched? No, it doesn't. In fact, in the video that I made about using Headliner to turn podcasts into video clips, I only used the search function just for the sake of brevity. You can also upload your MP3 file directly into Headliner, and it will create a video for you based on that. So there is a direct upload option in Headliner. So hopefully that cleared that all up. And actually, I know that it did, because I got an email back that said thank you. That helps a lot. All right. Last question for this edition of the Practical EdTech podcast came from Tanya. I have a quick question for you. I've made a QR code which is linked to a Google form for my students to log when they are leaving my classroom. I was wondering if there is a way to take the info from the form and create a virtual pass with the time instead of stopping class to write a pass. Tanya. So, what I suggested to Tanya was to try the Google Forms add-on called Check It Out. What Check It Out does is let you create a list of items, or in this case, you might create a list of student names. And then when your student signs out, he or she just picks their name from the drop-down menu, Sally Jones or whoever. Okay? Picks their name from the drop-down menu, and then clicks go into the bathroom, or going to the library, or going to wherever they're going to. And it timestamps it, and that timestamp appears in your spreadsheet. When they come back, they go right back to that same Google form, and their name will appear on the checked out column, and they can then select their name from the checked out, click it, and submit that they're back in the room. So you can try that out. It's called Check It Out. Check it out. Check it out. It's a free Google Forms add-on. Really kind of a neat thing. Lots of uses for it. I've used it in the past for just keeping track of stuff in my classroom, like copies of books. When my students were reading The Red Badge of Courage when I was teaching social studies, that was how I just kept track of those books. Book numbers 1 through 25. For my book numbers, Tom's got book 1. Susie's got book 2. Sally's got book 3. Real quick. So that's that. And to wrap up this edition of the Practical EdTech Podcast, quick note from the Shameless Commerce division of my life. I am going full steam ahead with the Practical EdTech Summer Camp, July 13th and 14th in Bethel, Maine. It's going to be fun. There's a discount code that you can get. Go to practicaledtech.com and click on the Practical EdTech Summer Camp link at the top, and you'll be taken to a page that has a form that you can fill out to get a discount code emailed right to you. Use that discount code anytime now right up until the event. but use it sooner. The sooner you register, the cheaper it will be. So it's going to be fun. It's the 8th year that I've done it. 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, 8th year that I've done it. It's going to be fun. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you have any feedback for me, you have any questions for me, feel free to send me an email, richard@byrne.media or richardbyrne@freetechforteachers.com. Either way, I will get your email.